Up until around 2014, there were quite a few websites about expat life in Turkey and a lot of interest from overseas about what living in Turkey must be like. Many foreigners had invested heavily in property in Turkey, and the exchange rate of the Turkish lira versus the US dollar, sterling, and the euro always gave Turkey's foreign residents a comfortable lifestyle. Turkey was one of the more popular places for expats seeking a life in the sun. For some, that bubble has burst. Many expats have packed up and gone home, or no longer continue to live in Turkey on a permanent basis. They will have seen their incomes fall against the rising costs of living, especially if they were pensioners. Turkey has witnessed a civil war in Syria and become home to around 3 million Syrian refugees. Threats from ISIS, journalists in jail, and an attempted coup have changed the political scene in Turkey. So, what does this all mean? A common question that people ask is, how safe is Turkey? And we did a separate video on this very subject if you're interested. But Turkey is still a safe country, and it has a great deal to offer if you can just fight your way through all the negative and adverse press. For some strange reason, a lot of people seem to be more obsessed with how safe it is rather than how wonderful it is as a country. According to the Turkish Interior Ministry, there are 4.7 million foreigners living in Turkey. The majority of these would be Syrian, but Americans account for the highest proportion of foreigners working in Turkey, followed by the Russians, Germans, French and British. Of course, there are also large numbers of retired people here too. Anyway, this video is for newly arrived expats, or those seeking information about living in Turkey. You might be planning to live here or have just moved here and you're finding your feet and your way around, and when it comes to formalities and sorting out the paperwork, renting a place or working in Turkey, you find that you need some advice. This video shows you a few of the most useful places you ought to know about. I apologise in advance for you hardcore expats who have been here in Turkey for some time, since you'll already know most, if not all, of these websites. The places that we'll show you here have links to the relevant websites. That, of course, is a bit of a disappointment when you're on YouTube, since you don't want to be trying to write them all down when you actually want to be watching the video. Well, this isn't really a problem, since you can see all of these links in the website format by visiting just the one website, our own www.turkishtravels.net. Make a note of this link, and then the others will all be bookmarked for you on www.turkishtravels.net. Feel free to share, cut and paste, and or borrow the entire text of this resource for your forum, website or information pages. So, this video is about how and where to get information about Turkey, the places where you can keep in touch with friends or find out what is happening in the community. Firstly, there are a couple of good forums. The first one is the Turkey Central Forum. There used to be several forums for expats sharing all sorts of things Turkish. Nowadays, there are only really two that seem to have an active community. My favourite is Turkey Central, which focuses on helping people. There is a huge amount of information here, and the forum is operated by a friendly and informative American with the help and input from other regular members. If you have any questions about Turkey or thoughts that you would like to share with others, then this might be your first port of call. The other forum is the Turkish Living Forum, which is dedicated to living in Turkey and everyday life. Although similar in some respects to Turkey Central, it has numerous topics and a host of expats share everything from what they had for dinner to complex issues and everyday advice. There is a discussion forum about Turkey, the country and the people, and places like Altınkum, Alanya, Akbuk, Kuşadası, Bodrum and Fethiye, amongst others. It has different sections for various topics, and it has a heavy British bias about it. You can find the forums at www.turkishliving.com. Perhaps the most comprehensive website for all aspects about living in Turkey is Dr. Martin's Surgery. This website has up-to-date relevant information about driving licenses, residence permits, renting property, working in Turkey, and a host of other important material. It covers almost every aspect of the kind of documentation, registration and requirements that you're likely to come across or need as an expat living in Turkey. It can be found at www.Martin's for Expats in Turkey blog.wordpress.com. And yes, it's a long address, but rest assured, a visit here to check the latest updates to Turkish officialdom is always worthwhile. There is also a Facebook group. I'll put the link below and also on the website that I mentioned previously. There are also many blogs about life and living in Turkey and plenty of YouTube videos about this too. If you want to take a look at some personal blogs and get some first-hand experience of what it is like in any particular location, then a good start might be the Expats blog, where you'll find a host of blogs all in one place. This is a good resource, but it doesn't look like that it's being updated anymore with any new blogs, and some of the blogs have been discontinued. It's still worth a visit though, plenty of content here. Internations is a community website designed specifically for expats around the globe. The Expats Living in Turkey network is strong in the main cities of Istanbul, Ankara and Izmir, but it doesn't give much cover in other areas. However, it's also a useful resource for advice and information. Some parts of the website are freely available, but there's also a fee-paying part that gives you access to events and other activities. Turkey has some really good websites for online purchases. The cargo postal service in Turkey is absolutely outstanding. With intense competition from a host of providers, the courier post companies do a good job in getting your purchases to you in a timely manner. I have tried Gitti Gidiyor, the Turkish eBay, and Hepsi Burada, their main competitor, but I prefer the N11 website for its buyer protection policies and trouble-free shopping. www.n11.com. The property market in Turkey is currently in favour of the buyer. Many towns and cities have a glut of property against a downturn in the economy, and money is tight right now. You can find a bargain if you know where to look. There are many estate agents, but it's very easy to open up an estate agency in Turkey with very little training and very little expense, which is why there are so many of them and why you have to be careful who you deal with. To understand the market and the local costs, then you can visit the website sahibinden.com and browse through the property available in your chosen location. There are a couple of good English news websites for you to catch up on the local headlines. The most common one is the Hürriyet Daily News, but the Daily Sabah is also fairly comprehensive in its coverage. When it comes to official websites, the e-government website makes use of digital technology to improve service efficiency and effectiveness in Turkey. The Turkish website e-Devlet Kapısı, simply e-Devlet or Türkiye.gov.tr, is a resource providing access to government services with an information portal for foreigners. This website will store your property information, your vehicle details, and a host of official documentation relevant to you as a person in Turkey. Just register at any post office. Another really useful website is the Turkish Republic Health Ministry site, which lets you book doctor's appointments online and gives you access to your medical records. There is a drop-down tab in the main menu so that you can select English so that it makes sense to you. Well, that's about it for now. Just a quick note on watching TV in Turkey. Most expats will want to watch TV from their country of origin. There are many ways to watch overseas TV in Turkey. Some people prefer a satellite dish, which will give you a limited number of free channels like BBC, CNN and Bloomberg, and you can also subscribe to Netflix and watch that in Turkey too. There is, of course, the easy way of doing that with a computer and watching things through a web browser, but we've found that the most reliable and without doubt the easiest method of watching a wide range of TV channels and providers is the Amazon Fire Stick, the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. I'll put the link to this in the video here so that you can actually see what this is like. But not only is it something you can use at home, but you can take this with you when you go on a holiday, or if you have a second home, you can use it anywhere, and the TV doesn't have to be a smart TV either. This video has introduced you to just a few of the places that you might find useful if you live and work in Turkey. There are many more. Please feel free to add them in the comments section so that others can see additional resources. Don't forget that the entire text of this video with all the important video links can be found at www.turkishtravels.net. That's it for now. If you found this video useful, please give us the thumbs up or even subscribe. Thanks for watching.